the busiest participants in Victorian greyhound racing is Margaret Thomas. Among her many duties, a president of the Traralgon Greyhound Racing Club, Margaret makes presentation rugs and she breeds her own Murray Grey cattle. Margaret, you're a very versatile woman, and one of those interests is greyhound racing. Tell us how you got involved in greyhound racing.
Well, I suppose I was my father's little girl who always really wanted to go to the dogs. And we'd get in the back of the car and he'd hide me there and off we'd go to White City and back home. But my first 2 dogs was bought by my husband from our local neighbour down the road. And he said, Graham, come and have a look at these pups. And he says, you've got no time to have a look at pups. He says, come and have a look at these pups. And he said to my father, jump in there and pick out a couple of black pups. He says, that litter over there, they're worth $1,000. He says, that litter there, you can have them for $100 each. And that was Nigger Chimes and Charlie Chimes. And they were my first 2 wholly owned greyhounds.
Terrific way to start. Nigger Chimes, he won the 1975 Silver Chief. Margaret, first prize was $3,500. It's amazing what greyhounds are racing for today.
It is, and when you think, Neil, that we had a Toyota sedan, and I said to Graham, if we're going to stay in dogs, we're going to have to spend this money on a station wagon.
It's been terrific, hasn't it, all those years?
Oh, yes, very much so. We've had quite a few litters. Medium Prince was born out of Nigger Chimes' litter sister, which never raced. And she was a great producer of some really good dogs.
Medium Prince finished up in Ireland as a stud dog.
Yes, he did, Neil. Yes, he did, and was very successful over there. His progeny went to America in the All-Stars. Peter Eustace, who is the course broadcaster at Traralgon, came across his progeny when he went over to England.
Margaret, that brings me to Traralgon, and of course a club you've been involved with for a long period of time. You're in your 4th year as president. Before that you were on the committee. You'd be the only lady president in the state of Victoria.
So they tell me, yes.
You enjoy the administration role?
I love it, yes. Got a wonderful group of committee men. Wonderful.
A famous greyhound connected with the Traralgon Club was Del Keith, who became a movie later on, and you were very much involved with Del Keith. Just explain to us how your role was in playing with the Del Keith nursing home and the greyhound Del Keith.
Del Keith was born and bred here, and a dear friend of mine was on his sick bed going to the Sale Hospital, and he asked me if I would whelp down this brood bitch of his called Alice. And when he came out of hospital and he came round for morning tea and he said to me, which puppy do you like, Margaret? And I said, oh, you know me and black dogs. I love black dogs. And he says, well, that is your pup. And when he brought him back after earmarking, he had a little girl with him, and which I called Amy. And eventually that Del Keith was that little black pup that was born here. Yes.
And the nursing home really embraced it. It must have been terrific. He raced a lot at the Traralgon Club, and it was terrific for the home, wasn't it?
Oh, it was tremendous. They would get there in their wheelchairs on walking frames, and we'd take them upstairs and we'd have afternoon teas and suppers, and they would have a birthday party. But Willis was the house name of the dog, and he would have to come up and have birthday cake with those residents of Dalkeith.
A marvellous story, and of course we've seen it happen in Queensland as well, and you know, it is a lovely side to greyhound racing, isn't it, that a lot of people wouldn't appreciate.
No, they really don't, and I think it could be embellished more.
Another side to you that a lot of people may not be aware of is you manufacture presentation rugs for lots and lots of clubs. And how did this come about? Did you start doing it, 10, 20 years ago?
Yes, I did. I sort of happened to cut out a pattern off my Silver Chief rug, and there was a presentation to be made over at Traralgon, and I took it across, and then it's just grown from there.
It's obviously something you enjoy doing.
I love it. I absolutely love coordinating the colours, and Graham will come down the passage at 2 o'clock in the morning and he says, "You're off your head, what are you doing sitting up here?" And I'd be beading and doing these rugs.
Something else you're very interested in here on the property is Murray Grey cattle, and you're a prolific breeder, and I know that your cattle are very much in demand. Tell us about how did that occur here on the property?
We went over to the field days at Lardner Park, and I said to Graham, "Look at that beautiful cow." My father-in-law, he was very keen about blacks, and we used to run a lot of crossbreds, but we also had our problems with grass tetany and things like that, and we found that it was the crossbreds that were really sort of coming down with this grass tetany. And I said to him, "Look at that beautiful cow and calf. I'm going to buy one of those one day." And I first bought a bull, and I reared 94 heifers, and I crossed this bull over those heifers. We sold the heifers out, they were crossbred, and then we ventured into the cost of those being sold led to purchasing only 11 purebred Murray Greys, and that's where we started, from 11.
That brings me to the question, Margaret, of how do you fit everything in one day with your greyhounds, your cattle, and all the sorts of things you're involved with the Tarrowing Club?
Well, it's a busy life, but I like being busy. I really do like being busy, yes.
And no doubt you're going to be busy for a long period of time to come.
Hope so.